second by Mattson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed no. So ordered. Okay, we have no new business or old business on the agenda. Our new business is a public hearing. I will call to order at 7:02. The public hearing is for rezoning upon annexation from RE Residential Estate Single Family Zoning District to I-1 Limited Industrial District for the property located at that part except the east 347 feet thereof of the south half of the northeast quarter of section 20, township 34 north, range 14 east of the third principal meridian lying east of the Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad in Will County, Illinois. This will allow for the same use as the adjacent property owned by CenterPoint Properties to be used with the proposed intermodal facility. In layman's terms, that's bordered by Old Monee Road on the north, New Monee Road on the southeast of the railroad. Attorney Stevenson.
The authority and jurisdiction lies with the Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to section 28-103. The required findings are located at section 28-103, paragraph B and paragraph C. And this board may recommend the requested zoning class or any other in accordance with 28-103C.
Okay, and if you don't mind, I'll give a short explanation for the public, and we have one new member that this would be the first annexation. But any property that requests to be annexed into Crete automatically would come in with the zoning classification of our most restricted residential zone, which is RE. No matter where it is in the village, doesn't make a difference. It automatically comes in as RE and then comes up to us, and then we determine what the, come on in, sit down, would make a ruling on what possibly the final zoning should be. Okay, Mike, would you like to start us off on this?
Sure. The petition, as you said, is for a 15.5 acre parcel that's located proximal to the village boundary. The petitioner is requesting zoning upon annexation to allow for uses that would be consistent with the proposed intermodal that has been approved and zoned by the village of Crete. You can see by in the aerial photo, there's agricultural use right now, vacant land. On our comprehensive plan, it is planned for light industrial and research type uses. And on our zoning map here is our boundary, is the IT zoning, and industrial zoning here is across Route 1. It's bounded on the west by IT zoning, on the north by agricultural zoning from the county, agricultural zoning on the east from the county, and on the south would be county residential zoning. Near proximity, there's county commercial zoning to the east as well as the north.
And this is, I don't remember, is this part of the land that we did the map amendment for about
Yes,
years
yes,
ago? That was a couple years ago.
Yes.
That is the south sector map that I was pointing to in that. And that parcel is actually right here.
I drove past Napa, I'm sorry, I was right on time, I thought I had 5 minutes. I drove down to Monee, I saw the posting of the public notice on the property. I assume notices were sent out. Did we receive any communications, phone, letters, email, anything?
Yes, actually someone was present with us, and had some concerns, but he's here tonight.
And he was here tonight, so nothing that,
Nothing other.
okay, or nothing else, all right, good, okay. Okay, then if you want to, we can go ahead and, open it for, is there someone representing the petition who would like to speak here tonight? Is there anyone here for the
The
property?
petitioner is present.
Okay. Because this is a public hearing, anyone that speaks needs to give a name and address to the court reporter, and she'll also swear you in. Are you David Warren then?
Yes,
Okay, good. Is there anything you'd like to say? If so,
no, not really.
not unless there's questions?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind if we swear you in though, in case we have a
Sure,
question
okay.
for you? Name and address.
Okay. David Horn, 1062 Cherry Street, Manteno, Illinois.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, then I'll open the meeting for public comments at 7:09. Anyone like to speak? Sure. If you don't mind, name and address.
Yeah, Al Hansen from Balmoral
Oh,
Heights
excuse me,
subdivision.
I'm sorry, what?
Before we begin, a member of the public is videotaping the voice and pictures of this meeting. It's a provision in Illinois statute that if anybody is going to be placed under oath and does not want to be videotaped, they have a right to say, turn off the camera, at which time it'll be shut off until you're done testifying. So you have that right that you can exercise if you choose to.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
To repeat, Al Hansen from Balmoral Heights subdivision. My only concern,
Wait,
Would
sorry.
you raise your right hand?
oh, I'm sorry.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
sir.
Our only concern with this project is water flow from our subdivision from the north side. It's kind of restricted at the moment. And we just want to make sure that whatever goes on this property does not further restrict or obstruct this water flow. It's our drainage area on the northwest corner of the subdivision. And there was a dam put up there sometime in the 1980s. And we've been trying to get that dam removed or opened up for 8 or 10 years now. Regardless of that, all we're concerned with is whatever goes on that property does not enhance or further impede the flow of water from our subdivision.
Are there any plans for any development of that land right now?
None that we're aware of.
Okay.
Well,
So
we
you
did-
do understand there is no development going on. If there should be a project, then obviously we'll have hearings at that time, and
Yeah,
then
there's,
we would have a plan that you could look at to look at drainage and issues of that kind.
Will County tells me that that area is a drainage area. It's not part of the floodplain, but it's a drainage area. And something to do with whatever code that states you cannot restrict water from higher ground to flow into lower ground. I'm not sure what the code number is, but as long as nothing is going to be placed like structures, we would have to assume that it would not further impede, our water flow. Basically, that's it.
Anyone else from the public like to make a comment?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, you can. Name and
Um,
address. So, would you prefer to be filmed or camera on?
No,
You're fine?
yeah.
Okay, name and address.
Judy Pilarski, I'm staying at 825 West Crete-Monee Road.
Could you spell your last name?
Pilarski.
Excuse me, would you raise your right hand?
Oh, yeah,
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
yes.
Thank you.
I just have a question anyways.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Well, because what are they gonna do? Like, annex those homes along, Crete-Monee Road there, east of the tracks?
It's only this it's only this 15-acre parcel, which is totally vacant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it won't affect the other,
No,
homes, okay?
no, not unless they choose, unless they come in front of us and want to be annexed.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Horn, do you have any comments to respond to either one of these?
No.
Thank you.
For anyone's major information, they just had a major wreck down at, just south of Throwbacks.
Yeah, what happened there? That's what I was trying to get back to look back there, and I saw they had the whole road.
A car, apparently an SUV, I believe she's from Beecher, apparently turned off the road too soon and hit that culvert and rolled over, smashed that car to absolute junk. Ended up in a ditch, and she's in an ambulance, but she was up walking around, so I guess the injuries weren't too severe, but looking at that car, you'd never know it, because it's one mangled chunk of metal.
Really? Yeah, I noticed they had the whole road closed. No? Okay. Any other comments from the public then? Then I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting at 7:13. Any other questions or comments right now?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
According to the survey, what piece of property is it now? Is it 202 or what is it?
Yes, two of this property here.
Just that section?
Yes.
Just this, all right.
And it does go all the way from Old Monee to New Monee, right? The
No.
entire strip? No?
No.
Is that what that 340,
It stops right there.
Sure.
That's what I was wondering. Is it up to 202?
it's not that 202?
No,
No, it's just
Block.
202008.
it's block number 202, but it's 008.
Oh, the little piece down there. Okay.
Did you say that stops short of Old Monee Road?
Yes,
Yeah, quite a bit.
it
Okay.
just fronts North Monee.
I think it's
This is a piece of property right here. This is New Money Road. This is the railroad tracks. It's this piece of property right here.
Yeah, where's the Old Monee Road at?
Right here.
And where is, oh, okay, so where's this property? Which one's right here? This one here? And this area is,
No, this is just a, hey, there's just something else.
yeah, that's true, but there's something up in here.
This is vacant land. This here, I think, is the storage.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well then, let me read through the findings, which we are required to take into consideration in rendering our decision. In 28103B, I'm taking into account, one, the existing uses of property within the general area of the property in question, which Mike did go through and tell us the uses of the property in the area. Two, the zoning classifications of the properties within the general area of the property in question. Three, the suitability of the property in question for the use permitted under the existing zoning classification, which would be the RE that it came in. The trend of development, if any, in the general area of the property in question, including changes, if any, which have taken place since the day the property in question was placed in its present zoning classification. And five, the conformance or non-conformance with the officially adopted plan of the village. And C, the zoning board of appeals shall not recommend the adoption of a proposed amendment unless it finds that the adoption of such an amendment is in the public interest and is not solely for the interest of the applicant. The zoning board of appeals may recommend the adoption of an amendment changing the zoning classification of the property in question to any different classification than that requested by the applicant. discussion? I mean, I remember the mayor saying at a previous meeting when they remanded it down to us that apparently this had been on the books to be requested to be annexed to the village for quite some time, but was unable to until some of the intermodal property came in, which actually finally made it contiguous to the village. Until then, they weren't contiguous, so they had to wait until more property was annexed before they actually had a boundary to snug up to.
All right, Jim, if we were proposing to affirm this in a positive, what kind of motion would you expect to hear?
Well, the chair may entertain a motion to recommend to the village board rezoning of this piece of property from RE to I1 upon its annexation, in that the positive findings based upon the evidence presented were found in accordance with paragraph B of section 28103, and that would be paragraphs 1 through 5, and that there is a finding that it is in the public interest and not solely for the interest of the applicant.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Stoll, second by Mattson. Further discussion? Maggie, can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Stoll,
Yes.
Garth Millsap,
Yes.
Glenn Mattson,
Yes.
Timothy Brennan,
Yes.
Jeff Angelo.
Yes.
Chair Tulloch, do you wish to vote?
I'll vote with the majority. Unanimous, okay. What is the next step, Mike?
The next step will be that the recommendation will be forwarded to the village board and placed on an agenda for their final determination, and if they approve and agree with you, they would have the attorney draft the proper ordinance to allow for the rezoning, or the annexation and rezoning.
And the next meeting would probably be in the meeting in 2 weeks. Is that the 22nd? So the meeting is September 22nd. So, Mr. Petitioner, if you would like to be at that meeting, it'll be at the village board on Monday the 22nd, 7 o'clock, same room.
Thank you.
And if anyone from the public would like to attend that meeting, also, of course, you're welcome to also. So that's it. So I'll close the public hearing at 7:20. Thank you for your time.
And Mr. Hanson? Mr. Hanson? I'll just let you know that the Village of Crete has adopted the Will County Stormwater Ordinance. So any development anywhere has to abide by that. And part of their provisions is that whatever water is being received by the property now has to be dealt with in accordance with it. So it should be taken care of if and when it gets developed.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay? All right.
Okay. Any general public statements? Miscellaneous, are we going to discuss anything else while we're here tonight?
I can address your question if
Could
you
you?
want.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome.
The chairman forwarded to me a copy of an article that discusses site visits and the legality of the members of this commission going out for site visits. And some of you, I think, know, but some of you may not know. Prior to becoming village attorney, I was actually sitting on the zoning board of appeals here. And eventually, in a couple of years, I became the chairman of the zoning board of appeals. And on every single issue that I dealt with as a member of the board of appeals, I went out and looked at it. I wanted to see what it was. Now, the article talks about the requirement for due process and looking at making your decision not on evidence placed in evidence here, and that's all very good, but the first thing that you kind of need to know is the distinction. I believe this article was written in, at the tenor of the zoning board of appeals decision being final. And if the zoning board of appeals has the finality addressed to it, then it's reviewed under the administrative review law. If it's reviewed under the administrative review law, what the courts look as mixed questions of both facts and law, and including due process. Okay? However, this zoning board of appeals only gives a recommendation. And so if the zoning board of appeals decision is a recommendation only, the passage of the ordinance by the village board is reviewed not by administrative review, it's reviewed as a legislative act. Okay? So if it's reviewed as a legislative act, the ordinance is permitted only unless it's preempted by statute if one applies. And an example of that is the child care facility siting. You know, we can zone for child care, but we can't prevent it from occurring. The Illinois Supreme Court reviewed on that. And it's a de novo review, meaning that the appellate court looks at what the trial court decision was, and there's no deference given to the trial court. It's a fresh review. Okay? So that all being said, the differences, I still take a very conservative approach in my advice and counsel to you all is that we should also protect due process, even though you're making a recommendation only. Okay? And what that means is that I see no problem with you ever going out to see the site, but you have to keep in mind that your decision has to be made based on the evidence that's presented during hearings only. Okay?
Hey, Don.
And the reason I went out for my looking at the site was so that when the evidence was being presented, I could kind of remember, I could know what they're talking about. You know, it's much easier to
Yeah.
understand that. Okay?
Than to look at a map or
Exactly.
pictures.
You know, but you know, I would suggest that you know you never speak to anybody out there. You don't knock on the door and ask questions. You know, none of that, because your decision is going to be made on what's said presented to you under oath here.
Now, when I've
So-
gone on sites, I've always made sure I had some kind of piece of paper on me, so if it is a property that's occupied, and someone's like, what the heck are you doing here? I can say, well, here, I'm from the planning and zoning, you have a meeting coming up, and so, you know, so at least I kinda have a piece of paper that gives me a reason for being there. I will admit to, in the past, if an owner of a property comes up to me and I said, you know, you say you're gonna build something here, I'm having trouble, show me where it is. And I had someone, I remember a house that, thank you, Faith.
Thanks, Dave.
And I remember when there was a house that wanted a detached garage, oh, this was many, many years ago. And I said, I just cannot picture where you're putting that garage. And the guy came and he showed it to me that I was, you know, I'm gonna put it here and here. I'm like, thanks, because I was having trouble figuring it out. And like the article mentioned, is that they were saying at least if you were on the property that you need to disclose it while you're at the meeting, which I think is a good idea. If anybody does go there, say, hey, I was there, I looked at the property. If you by any chance ran into somebody, say publicly you ran into somebody or you talked to them or whatever if you did. I mean, do you think back then when you do something like that, that's not even a smart thing to do? Owner comes up and says, and I ask, hey, can you show me where this is gonna be?
My recommendation is against it because, you know, it would be very difficult for you to take that out of your mind in your decision-making process, so. But if you see the property, you know, and then hear the testimony, you should be able to put everything together. But that's just my recommendation. If that event happens, then you certainly put it on the public record.
Right.
And I would also say, you know, you could also make a statement that nothing that occurred on the property you're taking into consideration in this decision.
Okay.
You're basing it based on the evidence as it's presented, so.
As the chair, could Karen tell us, you know, hey, I think it's a good idea if you go out and visit this site before we have this discussion, or is
I think it's totally up to every
It's an
individual.
individual
Yeah.
decision, you know, I felt comfortable doing doing it because I wanted to kind of see. Now, some instances are gonna be very difficult, but 2 meetings ago, there was a site that you couldn't see from the street. I mean, I never got out of
Yeah,
the car.
I
just drove
didn't
by,
either.
you know.
I
But,
parked on the road and I looked and I went, it's gotta be
Yeah.
back there somewhere.
But you can't
And I
see it
toyed
from the
with the
street.
idea of, do I walk down that long path to figure, and I went, no, I had a general idea, and that gave me a lot of information, just
Right, exactly.
parking and looking where that
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
But yeah, to go down there would have been rather intrusive, I thought, so I didn't do it.
I've been using Google Earth as just as a means.
No, it's another way to do it.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
okay, that's true.
That's perfectly fine too. But as long as you don't use Google Earth as a basis for your decisions,
Right.
and a basis based on the evidence, because Google Earth could be old,
Right,
you know,
right.
you know, so.
Yeah, there was a, I guess it's not a silly example, but in the article, and I can't remember if it was a actual instance or just a what if, but they said, what happens if someone went on a piece of property and thought they saw a bald eagle? So they decide they're gonna vote against it because they think there's an endangered species, and it was a sparrow, you know? So, you know, it's a silly example, but I guess it could happen.
So,
A total misunderstanding of, but I guess if the person sat there and disclosed that he was on the property and saw a bald eagle, I'm sure people would have told him that was no bald eagle.
So one question is, did you find out what happened with the Family Fun Center, why that went back up for sale again, or
Just that they couldn't get financing,
is that what it was?
same as the last one.
So I was keeping an eye on it after we voted, and then I saw the signs go back up, I was, what happened? Oh my.
They were so excited,
Were
weren't they?
they
He had a good plan.
I
Yeah,
know,
they really did.
I have
Nice
high
plan.
hopes for that one, high hopes. Anything else?
Motion adjourned.
Second? Stoll Angeletti, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no, sorry. I don't think we have anything on tap, do we?